So the way it works specifically with Digital Watchdog is we're taking an alarm, and essentially what we're doing is we're capturing it from the alarm queue in Digital Watchdog. We're sending in Spectrum. We're sending it up to the cloud, to the Calypso cloud. We're processing it, and then we're sending it back down to the alarm queue in Spectrum. So what's happening is we have the ability to intercept that alarm, process it, send it back down, and only show the true alarms to the person on the other end of the system who's got Spectrum operating in their control center. Next slide, please. So now what we'd like to do is I'll, Patrick, if you could, Usama showing us the actual integration to DW and how it works with DW.
Alrighty, thanks, Brian. Can you guys see my screen?
We can.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, so yeah, just gonna give you guys a high level overview of the Calypso dashboard and what it can do. So first things first, this is kind of the main page of the dashboard. So this is the first thing you'll see when you'll log into your Calypso account. So you'll get kind of a high level overview of the number of clients, sites, and cameras you have connected. We'll give you some insights based on your selected time frame to tell you, how many alarms you've processed, how many we've filtered out, what that percentage of reduction is, and roughly how much time we've saved your operators. That's based on some industry report that we did. So if you scroll down here, this is kind of like an activity chart. So in blue is the total alarms we've processed, and in red is everything we filtered out. So it gives you a good visualization of how we've been performing. And if you keep scrolling down, we'll give you some more insights. So we've got an idle camera report. So here, further insights into, maybe which cameras need to be masked or need to have some schedules added to them. So the next page is the client page, and here's where you would come in to draw some masks. So this is a great place to come in and, outline some areas where you want us to ignore the camera view. So for example, here, you could just easily block off parts that you're not really interested in monitoring. And once you click save, we'll just ignore absolutely everything in that red area. Other things you can do are removing the vehicle detection option. So if you toggle this, we can basically, ignore vehicles. So you can kind of select what you want Calypso to flag for your operators. Next thing is the alarms page. So this is where you can really come in and actually see the alarms Calypso has processed. So here are just some classic false alarm examples. So something in the masked region triggering the motion detection. Just something moving that's obviously not a person or vehicle. This kind of light coming on. So this is like a really good example of the kind of stuff Calypso is really good at filtering out. And here are some examples of true alarms. So as you can see, we can barely see this person in the frame, but Calypso still flags that as human activity. So we're really good at getting, tricky situations of when a person comes into the frame. And then when they're fully in the frame, you can also see how we work with that. So we'll put this kind of bounding box around the area of interest, and you will get these in DW as well. So it really helps your operators flag, when a real event happens. It will easily draw them to what set off Calypso. Show you guys a few more true alarms. So again, like vehicle motion, we'll just put the box around it, and you can fully customize what this looks like as well. So we've kind of selected this color, but you can pick any color that works for your operators. So that is the alarms page. The last thing I want to show you guys is the reporting. So this is a place where you can come in and run reports to get the actual statistics of how Calypso has been filtering alarms on each camera. So we'll give you this kind of activity chart, which will, again, help visualize specifically for each camera how we've been working. But if you scroll down, you can download this all into a CSV, and it'll give you a full breakdown of the total alarms we've received on each camera versus, the amount we filtered out. So again, just a great place to get, run reports and get a better sense for how Calypso is performing on a camera by camera basis. And finally, if you go to automatic report, this is what Brian mentioned earlier. You can easily, in a couple seconds, set up a report based on a specific client, a specific site, or just everything you've got connected to Calypso. So for example, if you click select everything, next, you can say, every morning I want a report into my inbox at 9 a.m. New York time. And you could easily just select that with the results from the last 24 hours. Just pop in your email address, you can add as many as you want, and then you can call it, like Calypsa Daily Report. And once that's set up, you'll get a nice PDF to your inbox every morning with a nice visualization, like a mini dashboard based on the cameras you've selected, and just a full list of the amount of alarms we filtered out. So that's kind of the gist of the Calypsa platform. We've got a lot more in here. Like we've got a really great help center we've launched recently, which has a ton of frequently asked questions, more insight into our product roadmap, how it works behind the machine learning scenes, and just a bit more information here. And we've got, a place where you can come and manage users, change your settings. You can select if you want it in light mode. There's a lot of kind of fun extra features you can benefit from in the Calypsa platform. But main point is we're trying to keep it pretty simple and really have it as like a value added tool in your monitoring operations so that, you're doing all your monitoring in Spectrum, but you're using Calypsa as a separate tool to just refine the cameras you have connected, draw masks so we can reduce the alarms even further and just kind of really build on what we're doing within Spectrum. So that is everything. I'll stop sharing my screen now. And
all right, hi everybody. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, can you make it full screen, Osama? It's just a very small window.
It's
the application full screen.
Yeah. All right. All right. How about now?
There you go.
All right. Looks good. Okay, so the way that Calypsa integrates with Spectrum is we've developed a piece of software which is essentially like a plugin, and that gets installed essentially exactly wherever your Spectrum instance has been installed, and it becomes a part of the VMS itself. And the installation, by the way, is a very simple process. We have a great support team to help people out with that, but it essentially takes under 2 minutes. It's basically copy pasting one file and then restarting your media server, and that's it, which takes like under 30 seconds. Once you've done that, if you open up or rather reopen your Spectrum client, you'll be able to, there you go. Within Spectrum administration screen, you'll be able to see Calypsa's false alarm filtration plugin listed here with a bunch of configuration items. So some of these are connection details. Some of them are basically how the plugin interacts with our cloud-based programs, and the number of frames that you want to send per event, the gap that you'd ideally like to have between each of those frames, and other connectivity information like if your server is located in a low internet area or something like that, you might want to increase that timeout or the number of tries and stuff like that. If, by the way, connection to the cloud fails, we by default mark that particular event as true, and that also gets generated as a plugin diagnostic event. So operators on board will be aware of that immediately and take steps to alleviate that particular issue. The authentication token field is essentially the value within this field, is essentially all you need to get things up and running. So once we have provided you with a copy of the plugin files, this authentication token will be provided to you with that, and essentially this is what the cloud program uses to identify specific customers and to map them to their cameras and sites, which are stored on our database as well. With that, we can enable and disable the plugin for specific cameras as well. So let me show that too.
So basically what he's doing here is once you've installed the plugin, so the first slide or the first area that he showed within the system administration is the plugin being installed and set up and the license is activated. Once that plugin is installed in Spectrum, so that's a new feature in 4.1 is this plugin architecture, and that's how Spectrum is an open architecture solution so that companies like Calypsa can develop plugins for Spectrum. You can install them within the system. So Osama has installed it within our demo system here in our office in Tampa. And so the system there in Tampa now has the plugin installed, and that's what you saw on the system administration screen. Now he's gone to the camera settings, and there's a new tab that will only show up when once you've installed that plugin, is a plugin tab. And so now he's going to configure and activate the plugin for this particular camera.
Right. So because of the thanks very much for that, Patrick. So yeah, because of the open architecture, we have the leverage of selectivity. So you can enable the plugin for specific cameras and not have it enabled for other cameras. Once you do enable the plugin for a particular camera, it gets automatically populated to the on our end as well. So this is the alarms page for that particular camera. This one was pre-populated. So as you can see, alarms start coming in as soon as we basically do this, right? So this particular false one, if you guys notice, there's a little bit of shadow movement on the hood of this car, but it's not being picked up because it's not considered a true alarm, as Brian explained earlier on. Something like this is much different. A lot of vehicle movement going on. Again, all of this happens automatically. All you have to do is enable the plugin for that particular camera, and things start rolling on our end. As soon as you do that. Also, within the VMS, you'll start seeing corresponding events, analytics events that will get populated on all these tabs on the right panel, which includes specific the bounding boxes that Calypsa identifies for each of those events. So right now we've configured it in such a way that the plugin responds to motion events. We can change that. We can even, with low resolution cameras and stuff like that, we can even have it sort of live streamed whereby we're picking up most of the feed that we get from the camera rather than picking up only what the VMS considers a motion event. And of course, like other analytics events, yeah, there you go. So there you see the bounding boxes that our AI has drawn. This is essentially the same thing that you'll see on our dashboard, which you see here. And so when you have the plugin installed, you'll essentially be looking at the operators will essentially be interested in these two tabs, the objects tab and the events tab. And if there are like network issues and stuff like that, these are unrelated to the plugin, by the way, but if there are issues with the plugin itself, you'll see diagnostic events here. So the plugin is generating essentially analytics events and diagnostic events. And for those of you who are, for those who might be more accustomed to the various configurations of Spectrum, you'll probably know by now that just like other analytics events and stuff like that, you can, for specific cameras, you can configure actions that you want to perform against Calypso's true alarm analytics event and plugin diagnostic events. For example, showing desktop notifications and sending out notifications, sending out mobile push notifications and all of that stuff. Again, the plugin installation process takes under 5 minutes normally. And once you enable it for specific cameras, they automatically start getting populated on our backend, where you are, where all of essentially the stuff that Tara showed you earlier is available, for consumption. That is me.